Stay tuned, I'm giving away a copy of my newest book, Cute Mushrooms. Hi, it's Dia. Today I'm going to be coloring from my newest book, Cute Mushrooms, which has 50 very fun pages for, it's supposed to be for about ages 3 to 8, but I'm finding that people are really, not that kids aren't people, but adults are actually enjoying this book quite a bit. In fact, one of my friends said, finally, a book that you did that I love. So we're starting with this very simple gnome. He's a mushroom gnome, and I decided I am going to leave every single thing that I did to this picture in the video. This is almost 2 hours long. So I was thinking about this. Do I want to put it in there? Do I not want to put it in there? I typically speed everything up and then, cut it a lot. The only thing I cut here was any of my breaks. So I figured I would just leave it in. So what I started to, first of all, I decided I was going to do it in polychromos pencils. And I started with red violet on the edges of the image, on the edges of the top of the mushroom part of the fly agaric, what's supposed to be the fly agaric, that typical red mushroom with the white spots. And what I wanted to do was take this very simple picture and make it a little more, I can't say it's ever going to be realistic, but I wanted to make it more detailed and interesting. So I started with that red violet, and then I went to deep scarlet. And I also decided, rather than trying to color this like I think it would be easy for you to color, I just decided to do it like I would want to draw it, or I would want to color it, or I would want to create it. So there's going to be a lot of going back and forth. Oh, and the thing that I wanted to tell you also, it's going to be very long. So if you want to, you can shut this off, excuse me, and go into your settings on the YouTube video. It's underneath, and you can actually speed it up. Find the little wheel at the bottom of the video and then click there, and then you'll see where it says playback, and you can choose to go faster, you can choose to go slower, anything you like. This second color that I'm using is light cadmium red, and I use many reds, and I'll tell you what they are in the polychromos set. There's deep scarlet red, good old deep red, pale geranium lake, and in the center I also use some yellows and oranges, but not everybody uses polychromos, so feel free, and I hope you do. Not that I hope you don't follow exactly what I'm doing, but I think it's great if you have an idea, if you want to make the color different, or if you don't want to do red, you can follow the basics. So around the edges will be a little bit darker, or a lot darker, depending on how dramatic you want this to look. I used a darker color on the edges here. And then just like when I draw an apple, or when I color an apple or a fruit, I kind of do the base color first, the whole thing. So I'm going over it very rough. It doesn't have to be neat. And just to get the basic idea of what the color is going to look like. Also, with colored pencils, I think a lot of people don't realize what a slow process this is. So, I'm gonna be doing the same thing on the bottom of his little outfit. That's light ultramarine, also in polychromos. And I was going to do the entire thing in polychromos, and then somewhere along the way I realized I don't have a black polychromos pencil. I may have just used it up completely and never replaced it, so I ended up using, what is this? A Tombow Erogen Ivory Black V10 pencil. I have to say, I didn't love it as much as Polychromos or Prismacolor, but it worked. And then I thought that was going to be the only other pencil that I was going to use, but you'll see toward the end, I ended up breaking into the Prismacolors because the Prismacolor greens, they're just amazing, and I've never found any other set that has anything like them. They're muted and bright at the same time, and the Polychromos greens are all very like spring green. Oop, I hopped over to an orangey here, and I think that one was cadmium orange, and I just did it right in the middle, and I went right over the top. And I chose that color because it has yellow in it. Anything with yellow, whether you're using paint or markers or pencils, if you use yellow, it's going to brighten everything up. So yellow, as you probably know, is a primary color, along with red and blue. And what that basically means is you can't mix other colors to create that color. Yellow typically mixes with other colors to make other colors. For example, if you mix yellow with red, you'll get orange. Yellow with blue, you'll get green. Now I'm talking about mixing things, actual physical things like pigment, paint. If you mix red and green lights, meaning if you shine a green light, a spotlight, let's say, on a red spotlight, you get bright yellow. And that's not possible with mixing paint or colored pencil. I just love that. I remember going to a museum and getting a hold of spotlights and mixing all the colors together, and it's completely different color theory than what you would typically get when you mix pigments with paint. So I'm doing a giveaway. I'm giving away one copy of Cute Mushrooms. The physical copy will be to anybody in the United States, and if anybody wins that's out of the US, I'll be happy to send the PDF. But that's the only way that I can do it right now. And all you have to do to enter is follow me on YouTube. If you already follow me, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment, say hello, whatever you want to do. And that's it. So I hope you enter, and good luck. I may have mentioned the book has 50 new images. They're one-sided, and it's, like I said, done for younger people, but it can be for anybody who's young at heart. So I'm going to be coloring the top of this mushroom for quite a while because I just decided I was going to take my time. I was going to do it in very thin, light layers and just completely enjoy myself. You might see my grip on the pencil change. That's fine too, because I decided I would use the flat side of the point. There you go, I switched right there. I kind of have it in between my pointer and my middle finger, and I was just having a really good time. So you can do the same thing. Don't feel constrained in any way. So for now, I'm just going to be going back and forth with the reds. I even use a little bit of violet in there, oranges. That color that I just picked up was deep scarlet red. And I'll put a little bit of music on. You can just watch, and then I'll come back and talk about anything that's getting changed up, because I did decide that I was going to make the top of the mushroom look ever so slightly dented in some places, not perfect. I wanted it to look imperfect, and I also decided that those circles looked a little too round for me, so I wanted to make it a little more interesting, so I'll be back for that. Enjoy the music. that little indentation of color that I made right there to add a little bit of depth to the edge of the mushroom, that color is one of my faves. It's called Caput Mortuum, and it was used in the days of yore, and it basically means worthless remains. And I heard that in some cases, dust from actual mummies was used in the original creating of the paint pigment, but happy to say that is no longer the case. But I still think it's a great color, and I just love the name, creepy as it is. So nothing crazy going on yet. This is probably I guess my second or third full layer of the reds and the oranges and the Caput Mortuum and the violets on the edge. I don't think I put any yellow in the center yet, but I will at the end. Okay, I'll find you in a bit. Well, I'm still doing the red, but this is a much darker red at this point, and I'm pretty sure that was dark red or red violet. I'm going underneath the white parts with the red violet and a little bit of brown also, because I'm gonna try to make them look like they're standing out, because obviously right now they look just like flat circles, and I kind of want them to look more like the distinct shape of those little white particles that are on the outside of that red mushroom. Oh, let's see, that's nope, wait a minute. Okay, that's either red violet or Caput Mortuum violet. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, now I'm taking gray. You can either use a warm gray or a cool gray. It really doesn't matter at this point, because I'm just sort of trying to give those white circles a little bit more of a distinctive shape, like you would see on those little white pieces that stick out from that fly agaric mushroom. I wasn't quite feeling that yet. I added a little bit, but they look more like gemstones than anything. So I jumped off that for a second, and I decided to work on his perfectly round nose. And I decided I would leave it perfectly round. So I used a mixture of terracotta and burnt ochre, and even some, like, to me, in this set, it's called Dark Flesh. It's basically ballet slipper pink. And I just kind of went back and forth, around and around, and I left the very center of that nose almost white. But just like everything else, I went with very, very light layers and just took my time. I made the underneath part of his nose a little bit darker, just like I did for the white spots on the mushroom part of his cap. And I used burnt sienna and sanguine, just for the bottom. And then later on, I went with the lightest touch of black, only on the bottom. And then I came back to the nose later on, and I made the edges even darker, just to make it look more dimensional, to make the middle look more prominent and the sides look like they were wrapping around a little bit more. I used the same colors on his little hands. part of me just wanted to leave that beard white because it was cute and it was cartoonish. But then my love of detail won, and I took the same color blue that I used for his little outfit, which was light ultramarine, and I started to make the shape of what I thought would be whiskers. And rather than it just lying flat on his face, I wanted to make it look a little wavy. So I incorporated some waves with that blue. Not that I wanted his beard to look blue, but I wanted to give an indication of the shadows with that color. And then I went over the top of that with several different grays, and you can pick whatever you like. And then over the top of that, at the very bottom, I used black to separate the pieces more and make it look more detailed. On top of the light ultramarine, I used cobalt blue, ultramarine, and some violet colors in Dantrine blue on the edges. And where did the other one go? Another violet, which I don't see right now. Oh, here it is. Yeah, just blue violet on the edges to give his shirt some structure. So once again, on the outside or the edges of the shirt, it's a little bit darker. Underneath, the underneath part of his arm will also be a little darker. And I made some little wrinkles on the bottom of the shirt or the tunic, and some slight indications of, I guess, thread marks. It almost looks like it was sewed up. And I just kind of went back and forth with the blues where I thought the shadows would be. And I left the center in that light ultramarine. And I kind of, once again, just went over it and over it until I thought it looked saturated enough. I'm back to the beard. I'm adding more details. I was kind of okay with it before, and then as I added more color in his tunic, the beard looked a little bit unsubstantial. So I added more details and more whiskers, and I started to like it more and more. on the front of his shoes, I added a little indication of a, an upturn, so it looked like the tip of his shoes turned up. I kind of regretted doing that, and then sometimes I can fix things, but in this case, I just left it. So I left that little point. I'm shrugging my shoulders. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't horrible either, so I just left it. So first I thought the shoes should be gray. Then I changed it up, and I used, let me see what I used there. Terracotta, and went over the top. And then on the bottom, I used a brown, and then I made not quite feather indications, but like details to make it almost look like fur. And I kind of fussed around with that for a little bit. Now I started working on the staff, which I was really looking forward to, and I don't know why I didn't take a minute to just do it in the middle of everything, but so I basically used gray, brown, a little bit of black, and the terracotta again. And I just try to make it look like a gnarly branch. I put some like lines in there that were very craggy, almost like lightning bolt-ish. And then the underneath parts of them I left or made a little bit darker to make it either look burled or knotted. And then I went over some of that same brown with the terracotta, and then I went over the whole thing with a very light gray. And then somewhere along the way, I realized that these lines were so thick, the edges, and I did that on purpose because it's supposed to be a kid's book, but I didn't have to leave them that dark. And even the white, I'll show you later, in the beard, I'm gonna go over the edges of the beard with just a white pencil, and it covered a lot of it. And I did the same thing to the staff. So it looked a little more blended, and I really liked the results. Now, I don't know if this happens to you, but it happens to me a lot. I kind of go in with somewhat of an idea sometimes. In this case, I went in with the idea of paying homage, or at least giving a little bit of credit to the original Gnomes book from, I think it was like 1977. I used the same color for the hat. I tried to use a similar color for his tunic, and I wanted to give it not as much detail, but a similar amount of detail. So as I was doing that staff, it caught my eye that those white dots were so round and so boring. So I came finally up with the idea of how to do it, because I ignored it before because I didn't really have an idea. Yes, I had the idea that I wanted it to look like the gnome from Gnomes in the world of color, but I kind of go in and wing it half the time, and sometimes it works in my favor and sometimes it does not. So after I did the staff, I looked at those circles and they were clearly too round. I mean, if I was doing it, all in that very cartoonish look, that they would be fine. But I kind of wanted it to be not perfect. So I went in and I took the black and I made them a little bit more misshapen. I'm adding some more details to his tunic here. Came back to the white dots again, and I used a very light color here. I think it was ivory. Possibly one step darker. I don't know if it's called bone. I'll tell you in a second. But I saw that it was adding dimension to it, and I really liked it. I also saw when I went over with that color that some of it got on the black line in the book, and it covered it really well. I know that some people don't like the coloring books. Paper, certain paper bothers people. I thought this worked great. Is this the color? Yeah, it was ivory. And then I went over it again with almost like a yellowy ochre. And then I went over the top with the white, and I covered that black line. So it really made it stand out, and it really made it look good. So this is one of those instances I had no idea that I was going to do that, and I had no idea if it was going to work. So you can see right about here, it starts to look a little bit more dimensional. I was really happy about that. It looks cool. As you can tell, this has been a study of putting some colors down, thinking they weren't dark enough, and then adding more, and then adding more. I also learned that with the polychromos pencils, you can really, really do a lot of layers, even in a really basic coloring book. I felt like I was almost finished, and I was really liking the results, but it almost seemed a little too stark. He was sort of standing in a snowstorm or something, so I chose some gray, just a very neutral color. Maybe it was brown ochre, and I made some little like scratchy marks under him to basically look like a shadow. And then I decided I want to do some details in the back, but I didn't want it to be as intense or as clear as he is. So in my head, it looked like sort of misty leaves in the background. And that's when I started to look through the Polychromos pencils for green, and none of them seemed to fit. So I went to go get my Prismacolor set. The greens in the Prismacolor set are just amazing. I used lime peel, sap green light, pale sage, and just sort of gave a very ethereal kind of light green idea of leaves in the background. I didn't want to fill them in. I didn't want to make them perfect. I just wanted to make it feel a little bit like he was standing where he belongs, in the garden or in the forest. I also used chartreuse, jade green, celadon, Prussian green, kelp green, just that pale sage is almost worth the whole set. You can blend with it. You can make like a very misty kind of look with it. There's nothing like that in any of the other sets I've ever purchased. I also realized when I went from one set, I almost did the complete gnome with Polychromos, that the Prismacolors are much softer. They're much easier to blend. They're much easier to use. kind of almost want to do the whole thing over again with the Prismacolors just to see what it looks like. As you can see on that pencil, they come out of the box with this weird little point, and they're so soft that they wear down so quickly. I always said that Polychromos was my favorite pencil. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to do another one from this book, and I am gonna do it just in the Prismacolors, just to see what it does. we're almost done. And I took a look at it, and the sun had changed direction, and I just started going over it with scarlet red and then deep scarlet red, and I just kept going, and it looked so nice. So I covered up the whole thing, and it looked really, I think it looked really good. And all the colors, because the polychromos pencils are relatively transparent, so you can see all the layers beneath. So I was really happy with how that turned out. I added some more layers, and I added more ultramarine, and I added some little grass and leaves behind him and around him. And I decided to add a few more leaves around him too, partially because this color is so beautiful, this chartreuse in the Prismacolor set. I just wanted to add that on the side of him. And then a couple more leaves and little berries and grasses. Once again, nothing too distinct, just to make it feel like he's in the garden. That's sap green light. And there's that pale sage. You can go over any of the greens with that and just blend it right in. Very lovely. Oop, I'm glad I caught that. I wanted to add a few more leaves on the top. Well, thank you for watching. I know this has been a really long video. I hope you joined in the giveaway. If you didn't hear about it before, all you have to do is follow me here on YouTube. If you already do, just leave me a lovely message, say hello, and that's it. There's our little gnome friend. Thank you so much for watching, and any of the information about cute mushrooms, if you want to buy the book, it's right below in the information box. And once again, thanks for joining me for this very long video. And I'm sure I'll see you soon because I want to do more of these. Bye.